κύριος Κάρταλος από την Logotech θα μας παρουσιάσει μια συγκεκριμένη πρόταση.
Ευχαριστώ. Πόση ώρα έχω?
12-15 λεπτά.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would first like to thank the organizers. I'm very honored to be here and also congratulate them for this impressive event. My presentation today deals with an innovative aspect of Horizon 2020, the teaming competition for excellence. We first came across this idea about a year and a half ago during a study for the European Parliament on the attractiveness of the EU for top scientists. The idea has now turned into a concrete funding scheme for developing research centers of high quality, which open new perspectives for Europe and Greece. So I will start with a brief presentation of the funding scheme, then talk about the broader challenge for Europe, the opportunity for Greece, and how this could be exploited. So some background first on the funding scheme. We're talking about the teaming competition for excellence, which is a new scheme under Horizon 2020, under the budget line widening participation. It is there where you find more traditional schemes like twinning and some new ones that have started already with FP7, such as ERA chairs. So the scheme offers substantial funding on a competitive basis for projects aiming to develop cutting-edge research centers in less advanced regions. Now, what is substantial? Substantial might mean 20, 30, 40 million euros over 4 or 5 years. What is competitive? Competitive might be something like 2 to 3 projects out of 10, 15 applications per call. So, the proposals are submitted by teams that comprise, on the one hand, a well-known European research center with an important place in Europe in research and science and research, on the one hand. On the other hand, the hosting region, which will be represented by its academics, its academic, business, and institutional players. So the teaming scheme is meant to provide a high-speed lift to excellence for less advanced regions. And how would this happen? This would happen with a very strong injection of science and accompanied measures to enhance technology-based entrepreneurship. So moving to the European context, there is often the question of the European paradox, and this is, in a few words, good research, but very little innovation. So let us have a closer look on this topic. Ranking of universities. We see that, ranking of universities. Europe has the largest share in the top 500, 41%. But moving to the top, there you see a clear American dominance. In the first 20, 17 are American. Publications. Europe has the largest share. More than 1/3 of worldwide publications come from Europe. But a first issue is that other countries, like, for instance, China, increase their scientific production at faster rates. So the picture might not be the same some time from now. Another issue for the policymaker turns up when looks at most influential publications, and here are the most referenced ones, the ones that might lead scientific and technological fields, that might also lead into new industrial activities. And what we see here is that Americans dominate this field in the last 10, 15 years. Also, it's not a question of, there is a focus on production, and an American researcher produces 3 times more influential publications than their European colleagues. Moreover, in the early 60s, the Americans took the lead in Nobel Prize winners in the natural sciences, and since then they increased this lead. What is important to say in this context is that not all of them were born Americans, not all of them were educated in America. New players like China or India enter the world competition for scientific excellence as strong contenders. So, Europe? Well, all these observations would tend to give another interpretation to the European paradox. Europe does lots of research, but probably the excellence is not here. And as innovation is a winner-takes-it-all game, the fact that Europe does not lead excellence should be related to the fact that there is little innovation in Europe. So this discussion naturally brings us to the world's best performers. It is them who are most likely to make breakthrough discoveries and create the future in terms of science, technology, industrial activity. It is also their performance that will create very strong teams around them. Younger talent will be attracted at the highest reputation, the highest the teams, the strength and productivity and competitiveness of the teams around them. The top research performers also trigger money, private funding for research. A very good example was given yesterday by what happens in ETH, and this was given by the presentation of Dr. Chen. Of course, you are much more familiar with what happens in sorry for this. You're more familiar with what happens in Stanford, in MIT, Harvard, other places. So the idea is that private companies are ready to make costly private investments to get access to the best brains. So the thing is that, as our studies showed for the Parliament, top researchers do not choose Europe as their first place of work. Why so? Because of insufficient flexibility in defining research topics and also getting funding, the required funding, to do cutting-edge research. That's one thing. The other thing is that, where should they go? It is the path to European institutions is very often unclear or non-existent in many cases. For leading scientists, the top, but also the younger talents, the top science of the future. Well, there is also the wage level. There is a huge gap between what a researcher is paid in Europe and what is paid in other parts of the world, starting with America. The thing is that now the other countries address these factors, these three factors, much more efficiently. As a result, before, chances were that a European researcher might go to cross the Atlantic. Today, there are also chances that the European researcher will go east. I would like to make a strong message for the decision makers. There is no way to get cutting-edge science and high-tech innovations without outstanding talents. So, what should we do for these outstanding talents? Should we create them? Yes, of course. But we should be aware of the fact that if we start from scratch, we might need lots of time. 3, 5 PhD generations, 10, 15 years from now. The urgency to compete in science and technology at international level is more urgent. In our study, we identified the team competition for excellence as a means to be used to attract the world's best in Europe, to start with, and in the less advanced regions, moreover. So, yesterday you have heard a lot about the strengths and weaknesses of the Greek innovation system, and today also we had some more facts. So what I would like to do is briefly discuss some strengths. I think that also ERC grants were also mentioned yesterday, and these graphs come from a very interesting paper by Professor Kritikos and Dr. Herman. And of course, ERC grants are very competitive. We're talking about grants to individuals, transferable grants to individuals of a few million euro. You have something like hundreds applications per year, and the success rate is 1 to 1.5%. So here, we're talking about excellence, top of the top. Okay? So that's a means for Europe to reward excellence. Now, what do we see? Here, these are absolute figures. The blue bars are ERC grants at home, and the red bars are nationals taking the ERC grants from abroad. So, we see that Greece does have some activity here. But the important thing is that if you average this compared to the population of the countries, and the picture you see now is different. Greece has now moved second place, behind the UK, and slightly better than Germany and France. So that's the good news. The bad news is that the red bars in the Greek case are the highest. So Greece is singled out as the country exporting more top scientists than is able to keep at home. So, very briefly, we heard about this morning about the smart specialization strategies for the regions. We believe that the teaming competition is a way that might enforce and provide a strong stimulus for these strategies. In fact, a leading research center in the Greek region might enhance science and know-how that building on strengths in this area. It might bring in highly qualified personnel and thus stop brain drain. Then, in this way, public funds would be used with a clear focus. And of course, private R&D funds would be attracted. So, in addition to the pockets of excellence, the Greek regions may also build on other factors to obtain this project, like civilization, culture, quality of life, and these are things that might attract the top performers. Now, how could all these pieces fall together? How could we start organizing ourselves to create a center of this quality in the Greek region? So, the teaming should be part of an integrated and comprehensive strategy for institutional building towards scientific excellence. The two partners, the European Centre and the region, should work together and combine their competencies to create a significant research centre with the main characteristics of such a centre. And this is core research, high-level training, but also different forms of networking with special focus on networking with business. Now, the team develops, the team needs to convince to get the funding. So the players should sit down and develop a long-term plan with concrete research objectives on how to actually have top research capacity over a specified, well-specified period of time, and how funding from Horizon and other sources could be used. An aspect that was very much stressed yesterday is transparency and excellence, and these are things that should be incorporated in the governance of the center to be proposed. It's very important to design the scheme with a view towards attracting the best. Of course, one should attract the best players around the world, but one should make sure that the best European institutions are also there. We should team with the best. If the objective is to get some funding to complement existing activities, the effect will be small. On the other hand, if the objective is to really do a world-leading center, the name of the game will be different. Top European institutions would have direct and substantial benefits. Their reputation is at stake if this scheme would enable them to start cooperating with 2-3 best of the best around the world. A strategic issue is that all the basic, the core, the strategic research should be done in the region, conducted by people located there. If this is not ensured, what we have done was to create a very efficient mechanism for brain drain. I'm concluding, because time is pressing. If you were to keep something from this talk, I would strongly suggest that this is what stays with you. We're not talking about bringing some additional money to Greece. The idea should be that this scheme is the occasion for Greece to contribute to a European challenge for a country with a number of assets, helping Europe increase its competitiveness in science and technology. If I would say a few words on the next steps, I think that the first thing is to set out an ambitious objective about the center. Then develop a realistic and convincing plan with specified objectives, milestones, sources of funding, duration over the time. But also define who's responsible for what and show the level of commitment of each actor. A Greek project has strong chances because it combines different things, the favorable research environment, the quality of life. The scheme is a very strong means to bring back the diaspora. But it should be kept in mind that the competition will be very strong, and also the fact that the current thinking, the prevailing thinking, is that all this is good an occasion for new member states. Probably very few people see this opportunity for a Greek project, for a project for the south of Italy or for Portugal or other such countries. The minds are set towards new member states. And new member states, as far as I understand, have already started preparing. So there is a need to catch up for any delays. And finally, the project should require close cooperation and strong commitment of national and regional players and real willingness to compete at the highest level. Thank you very much.
Thank you.